Hey, this is Barbara with Milk to Meat Spiritual Growth Academy, and I just had a quick word that I wanted to share that I believe is going to be an encouragement to you. So, when I was in prayer this morning, the Lord was ministering to me about how the enemy will often use failures, mistakes, things that have happened to you in your past to keep you from moving into your future. And he said that many of his people are shell shocked. And I had heard that term before, but I looked it up just to get some clarity on exactly what shell shock meant. It means shocked or confused because of a sudden, alarming experience. It also means mentally confused, upset, or exhausted as a result of a highly stressful or disturbing and often unexpected event or experience. Now, some of the symptoms of being shell shocked are fatigue, confusion, impaired sight and hearing. All right. Now, this term shell shock, I need you to stick with me because the Lord is going to bless us with this. This term shell shock was coined by soldiers in World War I to describe what would later be called PTSD. And what the Lord showed me is that, listen to this, a lot of the warfare that we have experienced has caused many of God's people not only to be fatigued, but also to be confused. And what that means is that many of you step out in faith on something. You step out in faith on a relationship, on a new job, a new church, a new ministry, a new business, and that thing failed. And because it failed, now you're confused. Now you're confused as to whether you even heard God in the first place. And so you start, because it didn't work out, you start to second guess yourself. And now the enemy has brought confusion to you. See, you thought you heard God. You thought you knew what God wanted. You thought you were following God. And then as soon as you step out on faith, you were met with warfare. And that warfare caused you to be confused. And this is exactly what happened to Moses, y'all. Remember in the book of Exodus, Moses, he went to check on the Hebrews and he saw that they were being oppressed by the Egyptians. And so something deep down inside of him knew that he was supposed to deliver his people. Something deep down inside of him knew that God had sent him to deliver his people. But as soon as he did what he thought he was supposed to do, guess what happened? He was met with warfare. It failed, y'all. He killed the Egyptian, and then the next day, when he was trying to deliver his people again, this time from each other, his secret was exposed. And so now this warfare, this challenge that he has met while he was doing what he thought God called him to do, he was met with warfare, and that warfare caused him to retreat into the wilderness, y'all. And many of us, I sense that because you stepped out on something that you thought you heard God about, you thought God wanted you to do, you were met with warfare, and now you have retreated back to the wilderness. Now, even though the wilderness is uncomfortable, there is something good about the wilderness. And what tends to happen in the wilderness is that usually that is the place where we meet God. And we see that's exactly what happened in the life of Moses. Even though he was in an uncomfortable place, even though when he tried to do what God called him to do, he was met with resistance, he was met with warfare, he had retreated into the wilderness, but that is exactly the place where he met God. Now, guess what happened to Moses in the wilderness? When he encountered God through that burning bush, God said, listen, Moses, I know the last time you tried it, it didn't work. I know the last time you tried it, you were met with resistance. I know the last time you tried it, you were met with some warfare. But I'm telling you, Moses, I am sending you back. And so for many of us, listen, God is saying, I know you experienced some trauma. I know you experienced some resistance, but I am sending you back to the very place where you experienced that warfare. But this time it's going to be different. This time I am with you. This time you're going not in your own strength, not in your own ability, but you're going with some divine strategy. And so when Moses encountered God in the wilderness, God gave him divine strategy. He said, listen, I have placed a rod in your hand. I want you to use it. I'm sending you some help. I'm sending your brother with you. And not only that, he said, but I am going to do some wonders on your behalf. And so I want to encourage you today. Listen, I know that maybe the last time you stepped out, it didn't work, but God is saying, I want you to go back. And when you go back this time, I'm going with you. When you go back this time, I'm going to tell you what to do. And when you go back this time, it is going to work. So I pray that that word encourage you. Listen, don't let the failures and the warfare of your past keep you from what God has for you in the future. You know, I'm reminded of the verse in the book of Isaiah that says, listen, forget the former things because I'm doing something new, and do not allow the failures of your past to dictate what God can do in your life in the future. All right, y'all be blessed, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.